Hi there, this is Smart Haddad here again. In this new YouTube video, I would like to show you how you can configure IPSec on the RouterOS version 7. Of course, IPSec is a very big topic, and I do have a complete course speaking about IPSec on the RouterOS. The course is on version 6, but version 6 and version 7, you will see that the configuration is exactly the same. So to be able to know how to configure the IPSec, you need to first understand what is IPSec and what are the features on the IPSec, and all of those information you need to learn them whether by yourself or by taking my course. Then you know how to configure the IPSec. If you are interested to take my course, I'm going to leave for you the link on the description, so you can just register to the course and you can learn everything about IPSec. So in this video, I'm going only to focus about how to configure IPSec. So I assume that you already know the theory behind IPSec, and then we're gonna go only with the steps to be able to make the IPSec working. So this is what we're going to do in this lab. Let's go now to the lab scenario to understand what is the scenario we have. Then we will start doing the lab. So this is my scenario. Let's say that this router 1 is a headquarter router, and router 2 is a branch office router. So both routers are for the same company, but one is, for example, one is in Amsterdam and one is in Utrecht, and both are connected to the internet. So here you have to think this is just the cloud. I'm just putting here a router, which is like ISP acting like a cloud. So in this case, router 1 can reach to router 2 on the public IP address. It should be public here to be able to reach it. And same, router 2 can reach to this IP from the internet. Then what we are going to do, we want that those guys which are sitting here, so I call them customer 1 or client 1 and client 2. So those are just, you have to think like computers. And then what I'm going to do is just to make a tunnel. So the traffic which is going from the customer 1 computer here to this one over here, then it is encrypted via the tunnel. And I'm going to use the IPSec. Now on IPSec, there are different levels that you have to do the configuration. You have the IK phase 1, you have the IK phase 2, you have to, before that also you have to do some type of interesting traffic for the IPSec to be formed. And inside the IPSec there are a lot of terminology, like you have the ESP, you have the AH, you have the tunnel mode, you have the transport mode, you have on the IPSec, you have the main mode, you have the aggressive mode, you have IK version 2, so all of those things I cannot explain them on this video. So what I'm going to just make now, just a simple lab to show you at the end that this computer, which is over here, when we form the IPSec, is able to reach to this computer and vice versa. Again, if you are interested to know more about IPSec, I highly advise you to go to my course, which is on the description of this video. Just register to it, you understand all those terms, and then at the end you will see that the lab will be quite easy. So this is what we are going to do in this lab. Let's go directly and start with the configuration. So let's go first to the router 1. By the way, the configuration is already done as for the IPs. So I just made IPs, I just made them this way. For example, if this is the router 1, which is going to be the router which is on the branch office, and if you see the customer 1, so that is actually customer 2. Let's go to customer 1. So this is customer 1, and if we look to the IP address of the customer, he has this IP as on the picture, you can see that, and he has the route to be able to go from the internet via router 1. That's the only thing I have. On router 1, what I did also is just I put here the IP addresses, and of course I made the route for to be able to go via the internet and the NAT, of course. So that's all what you have to do, and also on the router 2 at the end. So to be able to form the IPSec, we have to see if router 1 can see the IP of router 2. So let's do the ping to see if the router 1 can see the IP of router 2. So please look to the picture so you know the IP addresses that I have. So router 2 has an IP of 10.10.10.1. I'm using here, you can see private IPs, but normally you should have public IPs. Alright, because this is just a lab, I'm using private IPs. But normally in real scenario, you will have a public IP on router 2 and public IP on router 1. So router 1 can reach router 2. And of course router 2 if we go to it. And also we do the ping to 172.16.0.1. I have also the picture in front of me so I can see what are the IPs. So those IPs can see each other. Very good. So now those two computers, or those two routers actually, they can see each other. Now we start with router 1 and we have to start with the IPSec. All the IPSec configuration happens inside IPSec. And what I have seen that all the configuration that is on version 7 is identical that you do it on version 6. Now, we have to go to the profile, and this is for the IKE phase 1. So this is for the what we call the ISACAM phase. And over here we create a profile. I say I'm going to use the SHA. Okay, fine. I use the SHA as the hashing algorithm. You can use maybe the more or the better ones. So I'm going to use the SHA-1 for now. This is the lab. We'll use AES as encryption, and for the Diffie-Hellman, I will use the 1024. All right, that's all what I need to do here. And then I will say here, okay, so this is phase 1. I configure it. Now I will go to the peer. I have to say who is my peer. So my peer is router 2, which has an IP of 10.10.10.1. That IP we have pinged to it. And then we have to put here the profile that we have created. And this is the exchange mode. So as I told you, there is main, there is access aggressive, there is IQ2. Again, those are all explained in the course. All right, so I'll just use now the exchange mode, which is main. Okay, that's done. Now I will go to the identity because we should make a shared secret key to be sent from one router to another for the encryption. On MikroTik, you can use the pre-shared key. You can use also the certificates, and you can also use EAP, which is in case you have a Redis server. I'm going to use the shared secret key, and then I'm just putting a very simple secret. Don't do that. Just as it for lab, I just going to use that one. All right, very good. So that's also done. Now we have to do the IPSec phase, which is called the phase number 2. So this is we have to go over here to the proposal, and then from the proposal, I have to create one. And I was gonna say also for the phase 2, you have to say what is the authentication, the encryption, and if you want to use also Diffie-Hellman. I'm gonna say I want to use the SHA-1 as for authentication, and AES-128 for the encryption, and I don't want to use again the Diffie-Hellman because that will be too heavy on the CPU of the router. Okay, very good. So this is done. Now the last step to do is to go to the policies, and now on the policy you have to create an IPSec policy. And in this IPSec policy you have to say that I want to do IPSec tunnel with router, the peer, which is router 2, and it is a tunnel. So there are two ways. There is tunnel or transport. If you don't check it, it goes to the transport. If you just do it like this, then it is tunnel. In the course I explain what is the difference between those. And then I will say that I want this IPSec to be from the source address, and then the source address is the computer, which is C1, we call it. So I'm going to say which is 192.168.10.0. So for the whole network, which is going to the C2, which is 192.168.20.0/24. Then the action is to encrypt level is required. And again, we have IPSec protocol, H or ESP. Again, we will speak about them in the course. I will speak about them in the course actually. And then the proposal is the proposal one that I created. And then I will say here, okay. So you can see that there is no phase 2 for the moment. And also if we look to the profile over here, actually to here, to the active peers, you see even the phase 1 is not yet made because we didn't do any configuration yet on router 2, but it is the initiator. Okay, let's repeat the same steps now on router 2. Before I do that, let me just go to, let's go to the computer 2, and let's just do a ping to computer 1, which has an IP of 192.168.10.2. You see it is request timeout. Remember that it is requested timeout. Now let's go to router 2 and let's repeat the same steps. So I go to IP, IPSec. Again, we start from the profile. We create, it should be the same. What you have chosen on router 1, it should be also chosen on router 2 as well. So we chose AES and we said that this is the one. and we also have chosen the SHA-1, and then OK. Okay, very good. That is the profile. Now we go to the peer. We make the peer is router 1 in this case, which has an IP of 172. It should be 16.0.1, and then the profile is profile 1 that I have just created now, and the exchange mode is main. Very good. So that is done from this side. Now the identity, we have to also put for router 1 the same pre-shared key. This will be exchanged. Okay, very good. So now if we look, you can see that phase 1 has been established already. You see, established. So this is the, we call it ISA camp, or the ARC phase 1 that is already established. Now we need to do the IPSec phase 2. So after we do that, we have to go to proposal, and we have to create again proposal over here. We said it is SHA-1. We use this one, and that's it. So of course here we said we don't use the Diffie-Hellman again. And at the end we have to create the policy. Now the policy should be with the peer router 1, again tunnel, anything coming from my side, which is in this case 192.168.20.0/24, going to 192.168.10.0/24. Action is we are going to use encryption using ESP and proposal 1. And let's see the status, what's going to happen here. Here we go. You see it is already established. Very good. So now, believe it or not, the IPSec has been formed. Now let's go again to router to this one, which we pinged before. It wasn't possible. Now we ping it. It's still not possible. So we have to see what we have done as a mistake. So after we have done the ping and we saw it's not working and we thought there is a mistake. So there is no mistake. The only thing is that we forget to do the NAT. And that's something we have to always remember, that IPSec by itself, which we are using now, the main mode, then the NAT is not traversal. So you need to create a NAT for the IPSec traffic. So how to do that? We have to go to router 1 first. And then we go to the IP, and we go to the firewall, and we do a NAT on router 1, and have to say anything coming from 192.168.10.0/24 going to 192.168.20.0/24, then the action is to accept. So we do it this way. Now we go also now to router 2. We have to do the same. So we go to router 2, but this time the NAT should be, if we go to firewall, NAT, we have to say anything coming from 192.168.20.0/24, and then it is going to 192.168.10.0/24. Then the action is to accept. Okay, this way we have enabled the NAT. So now let's try again. We go to the customer 2, and let's try to see if the ping is going to work now. To tender 2, it wasn't working before. Here we go. So now the ping is very well working. So you can see that the IPSec is completely working for us. Now, while the ping is working, I just did something nice here to show you that I made just a torch on router 2 on the interface Ethernet 1, and you can see that IPSec is working, and this is the ICMP. If you want also, maybe you can filter here. You just say, I want to see only the IPSec, and then you can see that this is the IPSec is working. I'm not sure if we put it on Ethernet 2, what it will show us, which is the one on the LAN side. So let's have a look. So on Ethernet 2, of course, there is nothing IPSec, because the tunnel starts actually from the WAN interface. Okay, you can see that the IPSec is working. So that is all what I wanted to show in this video. So this is the video about IPSec. Again, there is a big theory behind that for IPSec. So you have to understand all the terminology. You have to understand the protocols that are used behind that, the features of IPSec. All of those are being explained in my course, so I highly advise you to join that course in order to know everything about IPSec. So if you like my way of teaching, please do not forget to make like on this video, subscribe to my channel, and click on the bell so you are notified by my new videos. I thank you very much for the time you spent watching this video, and see you next time.